Okay, we are at 6 o'clock, and do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like we do. So we should get started.
Get this started.
You agree?
I
Great. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the November 17th, 2020 meeting of the Community Relations Committee. We would like to thank Easthampton Media for recording tonight's meeting. All past meetings of the CRC can be found on our city website for viewing at any time in the future. For the benefit of those who are joining us from the community, I would like to start this meeting by sharing our committee's mission statement. Our mission is to promote positive relations throughout Easthampton's diverse population. We will work to build a sense of inclusion, community, and pride, where community members feel welcome, accepted, and valued. And we'll begin tonight's meeting with a roll call. Rebecca.
Here.
I should say full names, I guess. Rebecca Passa, here. Okay.
Here.
Patty Dougherty.
Here.
Emily Breton.
Here.
Margaret Kirstein. Not yet. Mary Lou Splain.
Here.
Alyssa O'Leary.
Here.
Jan Norman. Myra Oyedemi.
Here.
Gabby Stevenson.
Here.
Deborah Lucnia. Here. Okay. Very good. Welcome, everyone. First on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the October 20th meeting. Rebecca sent them out a day or so ago. I don't know if you all have had a chance to review them, but we'll ask if you have, if there's a motion to approve the minutes as they've been submitted. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Mary Lou?
Yep, I'll motion.
Motion to approve? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Alyssa seconding that. Any comments, discussion? No? Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 20th, 2020 meeting that's been seconded. All those in favor? We'll go down the list again. Rebecca Passa?
Yes.
Patty Dougherty?
Honestly, I didn't get to read them completely, so I'll abstain.
Okay. Emily Brighton?
Yes, I approve.
Sorry, I should. Margaret Kirstein?
Yes, I did read them. Are we approving of them now?
Yes,
Yes.
it's a vote to approve.
Yes. Okay, I approve.
Okay. Mary Lou?
Yes.
Alyssa O'Leary?
I approve.
Jan's not with us. Okay. Myra Oyedemi?
Yes, reviewed and approved.
Okay. Gabby Stevenson?
Abstaining. I didn't get a chance to review them because they were sent too late.
Okay. And I vote to approve as well, Deborah Lucnia. So it looks like the motion passes. We've got a majority here. So motion passes.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to have sent them out at the 11th hour. Appreciate your reviewing them.
Well, thank you for providing them for us, Rebecca. Okay. Moving on to our announcements. I just have one announcement for this evening, and I am very, very sad to make this announcement, but I wanted to let you all know that unfortunately, Abby Goldberg has resigned from our committee. So we're very sad to lose her talents and her experience and her knowledge, wisdom, all of that. But we're grateful we had her as long as we did, and we thank her for her service. And I wanted to just let everyone know. So next on our agenda is public speak. Oh, okay. At this time, any member of the public is welcome to speak to the committee. If you'd like to speak, use the raise a hand feature by selecting the participants option at the bottom of your screen. Then click raise hand at the bottom of the participants window. If you're dialing in by phone only, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Please remain on mute until you're called, at which point you can unmute yourself. When it's your turn to speak, we will ask you to state your name and the address of your residence before addressing the committee. I would also like to remind everyone that members of the committee cannot respond to comments made during public speak. We ask that you remain respectful and direct your comments only to the committee members. There will be a 3-minute time limit for those who wish to speak. Is anyone interested in addressing the committee?
Carolyn Cushing.
Hello. I unmuted, right? Yes. Mostly I'm kind of saying hi because I'm one of the few people not on the committee, and this is the committee I am trying to pay attention to as part of my contribution to the town. So I'm saying hello. One little thought or something for you to think about how you do, the public speak comes before any of the, the content. And I didn't see the minutes. And at the city council, sometimes they have, it's the whole formal thing. They've got their public speak and their due agenda items. And sometimes they open up for comments from the public around the particular topics once they've gone through. So something you may want to consider, because public speak comes at the beginning and nothing has happened yet. So, but mostly just saying hi and thank you. I'm trying to pay attention.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Just as a side note, a lot of times there's required public forums for different topics, like with the city council, like budget hearings, and they have required hearings that require public input during different times. But that's, I think, why they do that the way they do it for different topics. Okay, anyone else?
Actually, I want to make a note because, and I forgot to even raise this with regard to the minutes. I think, Deborah, you do typically ask public speak folks to mention where in Easthampton they are. Yeah. So can you at least tell, some people tell us their word. Mm-hmm.
I just forgot. I'm Carolyn Cushing. I'm on Main Street. I'm in Ward 4.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And did you have another thing you wanted to say, Carolyn? I saw you raise your hand.
I did. I mean, I don't know all the Roberts rules and things like that, but, I've been involved with the arts committee, and they, make some of they have a little different process. They decide okay, we want to have people participate. So I don't know if there's some opening for you all to decide when you address different topics, if there's a time for listening to the public, bringing into the conversation. That's my thought. Thanks,
Thank you. Anyone else? Would anyone else have anything they want to say at this time? Okay. Very good. Thank you. So we'll close public speak at this point. Okay, moving on the agenda, next is the topic of the citizen complaints alleging code of ethics violations by 2 police officers on August 1st, 2020. We all looked at the internal investigative report last time we met, and we were hoping to hear last time we met, from Mayor LaChapelle about the independent legal review that has also taken place. And unfortunately, she hadn't received the document quite as early as she had expected last time, so she didn't have it prior to our meeting. And so she's scheduled to be here today. And unfortunately, there was a last-minute school committee meeting scheduled for this same time tonight, and she has to be present there. So we are going to wait till our next meeting and hear that report from her at that time. So she sends her regrets. Okay, but on a similar topic, where we're discussing incident reports and what our procedure is going to be for handling incident reports, and what our responsibilities are around the, Margaret had put together, we had come up with a few statements in our conversation with the mayor, shared those with you, and then Margaret was going to kind of look at that and see if we could improve on the wording and approach in terms of how we go about this. And so Margaret sent to everyone, I hope you all received it, something in email with an outline. Did everyone get that? Everyone have a copy of it? Great. Okay. Well, at this point in time, I'll turn the conversation over to Margaret for her comments. And
well, just like I said in the email, what it needs to be is it really needs to be expanded upon. This, you know, I don't know, I don't think we need zillions of steps in under each one, but for example, we haven't decided many aspects of this, whether we're going to have a liaison, whether there's going to be one person from the CRC to kind of shepherd those incident reports through, if it's going to be, you know, the process, how we want to do it has not really been determined. And certainly this is not the last word on the process we want to use to deal with any incident that comes up. But I thought it captured what we all talked about when I looked through my notes. But it is, again, it is not a finished product. It's not a finished product. So, shoot. I have something that just keeps coming up in front of my screen, but in any case, so I just would ask, what are other people's additions, subtractions, et cetera, to it?
I'd just like to say I really like how you kind of approach this, as maybe for the start of this, we'd have one person assigned to be the person that pursues this. Depending on what our volume is going forward, we may need more people involved, but I kind of hadn't really thought that through. And I kind of liked your idea of kind of having someone assigned to follow the process and do the work, and then bring it to the committee and be the liaison with the person who submitted the complaint. So I just kind of like that approach. I thought that made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Margaret, thank you very much for doing that. I think there are definitely still some things to sort of flesh out. And one thing I want to be careful about is that this policy that we come up with makes sense in terms of our the means we have to do it, and that it doesn't become something that almost looks like a job that somebody in the community should be doing. You know what I mean? Like, this has the opportunity to become a job. When I looked at it, it looks, like a job description. And I'm not saying that. So I guess what I want to make sure is as we're going through these details, are there things that we shouldn't be doing, that we should be counting on, that we should be asking for help from the mayor's office or whoever from, so we don't have somebody who's, culling through the policies of the DPW. like that's, we need some support, some probably administrative support to have the information sent to us. So it's more like we're requesting the information. We just have to be careful, I think. I think that's just one example I thought of, like, gee, am I supposed to be going through every little detail, or are we, we have to be clear that we're going to be requesting policies around a certain thing, and somebody's going to have to help with that. Otherwise, I think that's a dark hole, that's a rabbit hole we're going to end up going down. But I did like a lot of what was in there, and I don't think it's that far off, and I think it can be, sort of a bulleted list of steps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think all the steps, it needs to be something that's usable, whether it's a rather simple thing, I don't know, like somebody, I'm just thinking, a friend of mine had an issue with the school about not really honoring her son's peanut butter allergy, for example. That kind of thing could come to us. Or the one that we got, which is a complaint with the police. And, you know, and obviously we see what the police did and what their resolution of their investigation was. Which is of a kind of a very different order to me. But we have to, I feel like our process has to be the same no matter what the incident is.
Gabby?
I'm pretty sure I remember the mayor mentioning last meeting that there's some liaisons that we can get in contact with the AG's office, and that there's other communities that have their own versions of this committee. So I'm wondering if it would make sense to maybe contact those people that the mayor suggested. I just can't remember off the top of my head what their names were, but they might have already some templates or ways in which other communities deal with these sort of issues. And so it might just make sense, like if someone already has figured out how to do this, like there's no need to recreate the wheel if you don't have to, you know?
Yeah, thank you, Gabby. I think one of the thoughts I know I had was that we, I think we have those names in the minutes, and that whatever was to have this is my ideal for this discussion tonight would be that we discuss a little bit about what Margaret submitted, and then do some outreach, and even also outreach to, you know, Brian Core, and see, you know, what they have to offer and if we're on the right track, and then come back. So in my opinion, I don't think we're going to vote necessarily on this tonight. And I do think to find other, you know, like templates and we might have to tweak them for us a little bit, you know, because what works in Cambridge might not work here. Yeah, that's my sense of what my ideal for tonight would be, to get a little bit of feedback from everyone in the group, and then be able to, you know, reach out to those folks.
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead, Myra.
Hopefully you can hear me. I'm using a different computer tonight. Can you hear?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I do like how this is laid out in bullet points. I also made comments per each bullet point. So I don't know if we want to go through like the list systematically and kind of frame our discussion that way. Sure. Or if we want general comments, because I can make little brief comments on each, or how would you like feedback?
Give us all of it.
Oh, no.
Go for it. Just tell
I'll
me.
let everybody.
Myra, I would ask that you just go through like number one and what, you know, however you might have altered or added or whatever to it.
Some of them are questions, and then maybe we can give feedback to each other, or you can give back feedback. But I just appreciated bullet format. Mm-hmm. So one comment that I had is, I know we're talking about incidents, but we're also talking about the feedback that we're going to be receiving. So I was just for bullet point 1, sorry, too many things. So now I have too many windows open. Let's see. So it was just the question of how we're going to receive. I know we have a report, but via the last meeting, I just had some questions. Are we accepting incidents via public speak? Perhaps telephonic correspondence? I know in one meeting, I wasn't yet a member, but we mentioned something like there was going to be a phone line from the mayor's office. And then, or are we accepting only feedback with the approved form? So I would like us to think about how are we accepting not only the incidents, but also that general feedback. Some of it may be related to incidents, but maybe some of it's very much different. I think like Mary Lou, you were saying something about flags and someone giving you insights, feeling like the town was militaristic, from a few meetings back. So like, how would we deal with those things?
Myra, is that your comment? I was going to say, could we hold you there after one and just discuss that for a minute?
Yep. Yep. It is. Okay. And so how are we dealing with other feedback not related to policy or incidents? So if that's going to be part of our form.
I just thought maybe at each point we could just take a minute and discuss that. That'd be great. So I was just going to say my natural instinct and reaction for Myra's question was thinking that I think in the future, it would make sense to ask people to fill out an incident report if they come to public speak or whatever. If we ask them if they would fill that out and refer them to our website to do so, so that we have a consistent process and a consistent approach, and we have all the information we need. And I think we didn't do that the last time because we didn't have the system in place and we didn't have the form up yet on the website, which it's there now. But so I think Patty and I just reacted to what we heard in public speak and kind of went with it because we didn't have that system in place. But just sharing my opinion, I think it would be best if we encourage people, everyone in all situations, to fill out that form. So we have the documentation and we have a place to start. That's my 2 cents.
Yep. And I'll add to that. There is, we do have a phone number and at the mayor's office, and they would, the mayor's staff would inform us if somebody reached out to us. And I would agree that having a paper trail of things would be ideal. So I think there would be a reply to email or a phone call asking somebody to fill out the form. Obviously, if there was some extenuating circumstance where that wasn't, that wasn't available to them, somebody could take the report down for them, I assume. But I would still say to have it in the form, of the form, so that we're having consistent documentation coming through. Yeah.
Everyone seemed to generally agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, echoing Patty, I think the paper trail is important just because, if we're seeing a lot of phone calls come in, even if we're taking notes on the input form, we can maybe address that as a certain situation, or if every couple months, we are seeing a same reoccurrence. I just think it's important to have that documented, and the input form is the perfect place to do that. So I agree.
Okay. Myra?
Sorry, I think Mary Lou has her hand, and I can come back.
Oh, Mary Lou?
I was wondering if we could think about a way for, as Patty said, people who maybe can't fill out the form for whatever reason. I know at this point in time, it's really hard. It's not like they can go to it's not like the clerk could have copies of it for them to grab and fill out longhand. But I'm wondering if there would be a way to somehow get them a paper copy if they needed it. Just, because we can't assume everybody has access to a computer or can see a computer or,
we're all about fair and equal access.
So I don't know. I think we need to think about how we can best serve someone who, can't get it. But you'd want them to fill it out by hand as opposed to you kind of interpreting what they're saying.
Right. So we could, I think that could be a discussion with that person. What is the best way, for us to do this? Yeah.
If there's a problem. Yep. Rebecca?
So this is where I'm thinking that liaison or whoever it is would be valuable. So I'm hopeful that we review whether whether we can ask the city to hire help for that or if somebody here volunteers. But perhaps if our liaison has good guidelines, then that person, if necessary, with a disabled person, for example, could go over, because the liaison to follow up. So the liaison potentially could go over that form with the person. And if it's somehow appropriate, and we probably want to give the liaison proper instructions on when it's appropriate. But if somebody has trouble writing, then that person could take down what they say. So I'm just thinking we could have some kind of help to make sure that everybody is able to complete.
Absolutely.
So I was going to look back. We should definitely have guidelines for people that have access issues, and even thinking of other language or language barriers. That might be something we have to address too. But I had a simple idea just about making it visible. I know every meeting you introduce the mission, but perhaps every meeting there could be a slide with our email and our phone and like the access point. So even if someone's not watching us live, they can pop up and they won't have to search to find that information. So like a little blurb as we start our meeting. Here's our contact info when we do get it.
That's a great idea. Yep.
Yeah, so that makes me think, just for convenience, I've connected the meeting and early, so it could be I can find a slide or a good page so that can be showing as people are joining. What do you think, Deb? Because it could just be there as we're all coming in, and then we can go to the view of everybody.
Yeah.
But that might be a way of answering that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anybody else have any ideas for how to incorporate that in a meaningful way? Mary Lou? Sorry, Margaret.
I don't know how it would look if you just pulled up our page on the easthampton.gov and have it as like a share screen.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some kind of share screen.
But so that you wouldn't have to create something, but I'm just wondering how it would look if you just went to the Easthampton, the CRC page.
Okay.
And had that, because that has all the information you need on it, right?
So let me ask you.
It's got the email, it's got our mission statement, it shows you where the incident.
It just might be a lot of text. It might be it might be hard for people to read or discern on a screen, depending on what they might be on their phone or whatever. So maybe if we did just put the key, contact information in a big, visible way, it might help. Because that could be hard to read depending on the person's device.
So question, I have a question. So for example, for that first, it seems like there's before number one that I suggested is that, I don't know what citizens, people to fill out an incident form, either via computer, request a paper form, or over the phone if needed, so that just to have, keep it simple, but just describe, that just that there's numerous ways. It can be snail mail, computer, or, meeting with the liaison over the phone, given that it's a pandemic at this point.
Yeah.
So, to incorporate that.
Rebecca?
May I have permission to share screen? And let me just show you, the web page. I can share that. Sorry about, I just had this interference there. But so the contact information is down on the page here. So, so just doing this is one possibility, and we can, or Deb, you'll get me a nice file with that logo in it.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. So that sounds like a really good idea. And
Okay.
Rebecca, are you going to create that?
Sure, I'm happy to create that.
Great. All right.
Oh, wait. So Rebecca, the page that we're going to put on the screen that we're going to put at the start of meetings, you're going to create it? Or did you want me to do it?
I'm happy to, well, I guess I don't care. If you would like to propose one, or I'll propose one, but if I don't think it's that difficult.
No, I'll just take a few minutes. Okay, whatever. I just wanted
I'll propose one if you send me the, like if you have image.
Send you the logo?
If you have JPEGs of the logo that I could have, then yeah.
Can we just clarify for Rebecca what information we'd like to see on this page? So CRC, we'd like to see the community input form link, the phone number for the CRC, the address for the CRC, anything else?
Email.
The Facebook link.
The email, the Facebook link. And do we want a line that's like where the link is for the community input form? Do we want like a little line there that says to share input with the Community Resource Committee, or to report an incident? You can link here or call this number or send us a thing.
Sounds good.
Great.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. I'll send you the logo.
Thank you. And maybe Alyssa could send off that Facebook link. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. Are we,
Margaret.
I mean, I use the term incident report, not because I'm wed to it, but are we calling it an input form, or are we calling it an incident report?
It's our community input form. That's what we came up with.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Anyway, that's fine.
Okay, so we covered number 1. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Myra. Okay, number 2, Myra.
Okay, it's actually kind of a list of a few different things. So I think I heard it echoed already. So I was thinking of, there's 2 thoughts, but I'm going to start with the easier one. So I was thinking, because Patty, you mentioned that this could potentially be a heavy lift, right? So maybe if we're dealing with more than one thing, we may want to have, like, we'll be thinking about maybe a subgroup like you usually, well, like, okay, not like you usually, but like has existed for the last meeting I was at. Or if not a subgroup, perhaps there's specific individuals that are kind of assigned to head up each case, because maybe some might be related to the, let's make up one, the peanut butter case, and then one's related to the jelly case, and then one's related to whatever. But that being said, there's point 4, 5, and 6 that as Gabby said, we may require some upskilling. Wait, where was I? No. I was on 2. Okay, so we may want to have, like, think about those committees that are assigned to either a subgroup or maybe specific individuals take one on, so that if the workload is heavy, it's distributed, you know, especially if we're getting a lot of feedback from that thing being on the screen.
Mary Lou?
I'm wondering if there's a way to sort of screen them among members, because there might be somebody who has background or has more of an interest in pursuing a particular input. They feel it's better, that, like, they have more of a background in whatever the person is talking about, or they might have a connection with somebody in city government that could be helpful in resolving it. And so I would hate to see one person having to deal with it when there might be somebody else who would be better equipped and have more connections, and or it would just be an easier situation.
I'm
Or
wondering,
on the other hand, if an input comes, if something comes in and the person has a history with that person, that maybe that person wouldn't be the best person to deal with it. So I would go for somehow dealing, and I haven't given it any concrete thought, of having a little more fluidity as to who the liaison is, depending on what the situation calls.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I was thinking that maybe it should be a case-by-case basis, and as things arise, because people's schedules are different in terms of their flexibility and their time as well. Like, to know who could take it on and for what, like the reasons you outlined, Mary Lou, it would make sense.
Do we want, I'm a little confused. Do we want there to be a CRC subcommittee that is kind of the liaison subcommittee? So there might be 3 people on it or something like that. And of course, the rest of us could be available as well. But do we want a subcommittee that would get these first?
Or do we just go with like whatever comes up, then do we have a volunteer to champion that cause, like to pursue that? We could do it either way. Mary Lou?
So who's pulling who would pull the input forms from the website? It'd be Patty or you, right? Or Rebecca, like the 3?
Right, yeah. Right.
Would it make sense to send that incident report out to the committee and say, this came in, will, somebody volunteer to follow up with this? And if we've got protocols as to what the next step is, what the next step is, then if somebody's really busy at work or out of town or whatever, there's a little more flexibility in people's schedule, in people's interest, in people's capabilities. I don't know if that's asking too much of the 3 of you to do.
No, I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense.
People would know if they had a connection with the person, that would be a good connection, or maybe you wouldn't be the best person to follow up, as opposed to saying, Gabby is now the liaison for this.
Right.
And
I think that makes sense.
Gabby is in the middle of finals.
Right.
Or, whatever. So I think there needs to, more volunteers. I think we have to be respectful of everybody's time commitment outside of this. But also serve the community in the best way possible.
I agree. Yes, Rebecca.
I'd like to note that the way the community input form is set up right now, it would need some more technical support for somebody to fill it in online. You can't. You have to print it off and write on it, and then presumably mail it into us or something like that. It's not on the website in such a way that it calls up and you can write on it.
It is a template. It is a template, Rebecca.
I don't know what you mean template. I certainly can't write on it.
It should be, it looks like I requested it to be created as a template, and it looked to me when I went to check to see if it was done that I didn't actually test it, but it looks like a template to me. It looks like it was done. So all the stuff that's shaded, if you type in there, you can't, in other words,
I can't write it. And so when I've looked at it, and I'm looking at it right now too, you can click on the link and access the form, but it's not a form set up. And so we might have to request the technical support, but it's not set up to write on it right now. The person would have to print it out and write on it by hand.
Are you sure? Did you try typing?
I am absolutely sure, but you can try it. I mean, for me, I can't write on it, but the question becomes then, this maybe can go somewhere for future discussion, but when that does become a fillable form, we would need to know how to access the results. And another question that has come up is whether we want a link for like public documents, so that when one of us has a document or we want to share a document that's accessible, like on Google Drive or whatever, that there's a link on the website. That's another question just to have for a discussion sometime. But right now, I cannot fill that in online.
Hang on. I can.
You can? But then I think we don't know where your results go, and I don't see a button to submit. I mean, you can fill it in online.
So yeah, you can fill it in.
Mm-hmm. Then
you could.
All right. So this is a question that we need to follow up with. We need to follow up and make sure we can do that.
Maybe it's because I'm using Firefox. It says that the filling of forms is not supported. I'll try it on Chrome.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you. Those are just concerns that this brings up, but that's all.
So right, the way I'm looking at it, and I think it's a good concern, the way I'm looking at it is I would fill it out and then I would attach it. I could download it and then attach it to an email. That seems to be what the instructions are. Mm-hmm. And so I think we would need to clarify those instructions. And I think that's something we can do outside of this meeting to make sure it's really accessible, and add that into what we need, to follow up with the clerk or whoever we need to talk to about that.
So yeah. Patty, just to clarify, so you're saying what needs to happen with regard to the form? So right now, if I go on there, it looks like I would fill it out, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And then I would download it to my computer. Right. So I would save it with my changes. Yeah. Then I would, there's my thing with my on it, and then I would have to attach it to an email. Return forms to Community Relations Committee, Easthampton, or I would print it out and send it email. So there's no automatic button. Submit. Yeah. Okay. So that's what you're saying, is you'd like to see an automatic button to submit. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to be very clear about how this form gets, I think we need to test it a little bit more than me just playing with it right this second. Just to make sure that it's clear how people can get the information to us. Okay. So, okay, one second, Mary Lou, I just want to clarify. So you're thinking at this point, so you're not suggesting that we try to set up a submit button. I don't know how that would work. I don't know. Well, I can ask. That would be brilliant if we could. That would be much easier for people, because I think some people might have a hard time with filling it out and downloading it and emailing it. I think that's just, but if we can, that would be great, I think. All right, well, I can ask, right? It doesn't hurt to ask. Okay. Okay, Mary Lou?
That's what I was going to say, is if you could do it as a PDF fillable with a submit button. Mm-hmm. Well, it is a fill. I know that they put it in template form, to be a fillable, but Rebecca's having trouble with it, so it needs. Rebecca? It needs to be it needs to be able to work across all browsers. Or there needs to be a caveat that says this will not work with, but I would think somebody in in IT should be able to figure this out. Yeah. Well, I'll just put a request. Yeah. Rebecca?
Okay, a couple things. One is, I remember the mayor saying last time that the city is looking at a website update, so that could help. The second thing I wanted to say is I've been trying it in Firefox. I just opened it in Chrome. I can fill it in Chrome. The trouble I was having was with Firefox. Okay. And then I agree with Patty. It's not that there's a submit button. You have to somehow, even after filling it, either, print it or download it or something and attach it to an email or mail it or whatever it is. But yes. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Margaret. In terms of process, at this point, we're saying that the co-chairs and the secretary to receive the community input form. right? And then request a liaison from the CRC to follow up with the person or persons who submitted it. Okay, so that's the next process.
Yep.
Who's going to receive, and then we'll get an email saying we received this input form. We need a liaison.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. And I think, like you mentioned, we can be respectful of one another's times, interests, talents, whatever. However, some may be heavier lifts than others. So maybe we may want to pair up on something, say if it's policy related and it requires a lot of homework. Maybe it could be a little group project. But Rebecca, you mentioned, as you were talking about the publishing of things on the website, this was going to be the little bit of, I think, is a little more of a heavy for me anyway, for a few different reasons. And I wanted to talk about, as the mayor was mentioning, that this is a lot of public information. However, different committees and different municipal, I don't know what to call them, municipal areas have different specifications for redaction of information. So I think, with that in mind, if we're going to be publishing, I'm just going to read it word for word. So I think that when we follow up, we should explicitly and be able to state our expectations of privacy for people, so that can be clarified. So, and when we're thinking about the form and potentially putting it up on the website, I think we need to set up our standards for redaction of information for reasons of safety, vulnerability, and not just for those reasons, because if we're asking people to give us information, maybe having their name splashed all over will not encourage people to want to be forthcoming. So we really might want to be thinking about what our level of redaction is in terms of reporting incidents. And then also maybe have some upskilling in terms of, following public law in terms of public information and what we personally are going to be publishing on the website in terms of these forms. Point two, when we receive
are you going on to another topic right now?
No, so I was just going to say, just talking about publishing or putting it on the Future Drive or website. And then I did have another thought, but.
Okay, I just wanted to interject something on the topic of privacy. And I'm not an expert in this area, but I do know enough to know that, there really is no such thing. Like, everything is public record. Everything is public. I don't know, what we'd have to consult, I think, with an attorney to understand, in what incidences, at what times things could be redacted. But generally, we can't investigate anything that is anonymous. We can't do it. And everything is public. Everything is a matter of public record. So I think it gets into some really weird, maybe legal stuff. But in general, I think it's all pretty clear. It has to be public record. And I don't know if there's any gray areas with redacting stuff or not, but I know that certainly couldn't be a routine, common occurrence. And I don't know details around that, or if there are options or not. We'd need to consult an attorney on that. But generally, I think that would be a problem because it needs to be public.
Yeah, I would like us to be able to consult on that, especially if we're going to be dealing with potentially sensitive topics, and you are going to be looking for very detailed reports in which people have expectations of privacy. So I'd like to be able to, if I'm a liaison to someone, to let them know what the expectation of privacy is.
One of the reasons we put on the bottom of the form, we have expressly stated that it cannot be anonymous. It has to be, and that it is a matter of public record. So that, I know that we cannot investigate anonymous types of incidents or whatever, reports, what have you. It needs to be. But anyway,
Yeah, I've heard of a few things like a few different ways, but of course I'm no expert in it. So rather, I've had personal conversations about it.
Myra, can I just jump in real quick here? So I think that these are really good points, as we're talking about all these things, and I'm just wondering about how much, I'm wondering, going back to kind of what Gabby had said before, about how much we want to put into this conversation, because like there's 8A and B, and we've been talking and we're on like 3 right now, and we've already been talking for about 45 minutes about this, and I'm not trying to, I think it's a really important conversation. I guess I'm just wondering if as a group we can think about just being a little bit more efficient in moving this forward, because if we keep going at this rate, we're going to be here a long time tonight, and then we're going to look at, so I'm wondering, like, then we're going to look at some other templates for this and get some advice. And I would hate for us to sit here for 3 hours and it's not, this isn't a judgment of anybody. I think you bring up really great points, Myra. I'm just trying to figure out how we, just to make sure we're doing this in the right way. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that.
I don't have many more points. I just thought if we're going to discuss, like, these might be some of the highlights that we might want to think about.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's what I'm wondering is, do we want to like kind of run through these and process a little bit? Because one of the things that I was thinking about today is I always learn something at the meeting that I hadn't thought of before. And then I'm kind of asked to make a decision, and maybe my perspective has been changed a little bit. So yeah, I guess I'm just throwing it out there that we with the idea that we're going to be looking at some other templates, just as a group, maybe want to have that in the back of our mind without drilling down too much on all these details. But with that said, I still would like to hear what you say. I guess I just want everybody to know it's almost 7 o'clock.
I know. I haven't even had the snack yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Myra, you're back up.
I'm back up. Okay. So really, those were just my points, and I would really love for us as a highlight to get clarity in terms of what's public record, what are our standards, like I said, for expectations of privacy. So when we liaise with someone, we can let them upright know, because maybe they don't want to participate in the process, or maybe they're fully be aware and participate. And that was going to be linking me to, perhaps we want to have, I already mentioned that, like a subgroup, but and the last is when we do liaise with that person, eventually that will give them a timeline. But I was just thinking that it might be one of our ways to go forward is to kind of create a little think tank about this, so that we can begin to look at other, like outside of the meeting, or maybe as homework, start looking at those different models and identifying the best practices. Because number 4, 5, and 6, 4, 5, and 6, people may need to have more of a skill base about that. So I think really looking, as Gabby mentioned, and I've forgotten who else, about not reinventing the wheel, but looking to best practices, and then really just being able to inform the public of what the process is and what the timeline is. And that is all. Oh, and I was thinking, instead of being on the website, perhaps what we would want to make public is is this our recommendations like a summary of our recommendations versus people's names and concerns, but rather these are our findings and these are our recommendations. But,
Yeah, I have one of the reasons why I just wanted to bring up my concern about our time here is that I feel like 4, 5, and 6 are things that need a little bit more thinking, and just in terms of like, you know, discuss if policies were followed. And Margaret, I you know, I get it. Like, this needs to be, like you said, expanded on. You know, that leaves a lot of questions for me. Discuss among the group, discuss with the department heads, discuss with the mayor. What is that? You know, it's a broad statement, and we were talking in very broad strokes last meeting, so I don't expect, you know, it to be drilled down. But I think that would be like a good example of, you know, what does that mean? Discuss if policies were followed, and you know, who leads that? Is that, it's just, you know, I think we need to really take each of these points and figure out what they mean. And I think that looking at, you know, other templates of best practices could help us with that for sure.
Why don't we, in terms of not reinventing the wheel, I think we have access easily to Brian Core, who's, I don't know what he's doing at this point, but, you know, if Cambridge has a form, if they have a process, you know, can we, I mean, I was just looking through the manual we got.
That's exactly what we want to do. That's exactly what we want to do.
So, I mean, we can all do our homework on best practices in community input, best practices, whatever, and kind of cull that together. But I mean, Sorry. One of the names that was mentioned by the mayor, but there was also somebody from the Department of Justice, a woman who met with us also when we were getting trained, whose name I can't remember.
Meg Goronsky.
Excuse me?
Meg Goronsky.
I thought it was Mildred Dupree.
Yeah, I think Mildred met with us, and I think Meg, I was trying to double check her name because the mayor said it 2 different ways.
So can I volunteer to get to reach out to those folks and get the you know, get their forms of what we're looking at, and I will send them out to everybody. Can I volunteer to do that?
Yes, great.
I will get the right names, and I will ask them what they use and if they have any guidance. And I'll send that out to everybody.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess though, I am curious just from anybody who hasn't given any input on this, if you do have any broad, you know, like some little insight that we're missing, if you haven't already spoken up, or if you just had a new thought.
I just want to mention, I have one fear about us not having a subcommittee for the community input form, is that if, you know, you guys get an email form, whatever, and you say, all right, who wants to take this on? Well, what if everyone's workload is heavy right now? You know, what if there's a pandemic going on and nobody wants to take it on? So that is just my concern. I do like the idea, you know, that we can all tag team, but I don't know if I have a better solution, but I just wanted to bring that concern up. I don't want it to have to fall on Patty, Rebecca, and Deb, So
I think I'll add that, like, you know, I'll make sure, like, I also find out, like, what their process is, how they would handle something like that. It doesn't mean that's what we do, but, you know, and we might get a couple different answers, but I think that's something for us to think about. So too. Got it. I'm on it.
Thanks.
Okay. Great points. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, everybody. Excellent points, excellent conversation. I think we're well on our way. And we'll get back with what Patty finds out and combine that with everything we discussed tonight and then see where we're at. Does that sound good? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda, another hot topic, and that is a new plan for our forum, where we go from here. So we had a forum subcommittee identified at our last meeting, which consisted of Jan, Emily, and Myra. Is that correct? The three of you? Yes. Was that right? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody knew that Mary Lou had to step back.
Okay. And Mary Lou, right. Yes. Mary Lou shared with us that she's not going to be able to continue to focus on that. So, so first of all, let's turn things over to this subcommittee, this group, and let's hear from you folks on this topic before we go any further with that. Emily, Myra, Jan's not with us.
Am I able to share a document, or does that have to be led by Patty? Or
you can she do that, Rebecca? Does she have
why don't you try it to see if the system will let you?
Okay.
You know how to share screen?
Oh no, it says host disabled that.
Okay.
Okay,
So
yeah, I'm looking at it right now to see if I can.
You could make her a co-host and she could do it.
Yeah. There you go. You should be able. Can you do it now, Emily?
Yeah, it looks like it. Okay. I just wrote this up because I was trying to be organized about this. Sorry about the ding. So can you see this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So you're all aware of the City Spirit Report. And in that, that is how the CRC was born, right? And there were different groups that met during that whole meeting. And the issues that they saw in Easthampton were prioritized by those groups. And you'll see them here. And the four different groups obviously overlapped with a number of their priorities. And then there were solutions that each group brainstormed. And then, and the subcommittee has been, or the committee, CRC, has been talking about these things, obviously. And with the unlawful death of George Floyd sparking activism in the whole country, and then also some ineffective communication that the subcommittee members were seeing between community members, we thought that the first objective should be to teach or to learn, for community members to learn how to hold empathic or constructive conversations when differences existed. And that seemed to be necessary before any educational interventions could be welcomed. And, I wrote, where racism is involved, this learning must take place, particularly within white people. Subcommittee members did not seek a white facilitator, but we selected one who had experience. So I did think that if we're going to go back to the table about looking at our priorities, we could look at the Spirit Report's priorities as they are listed above and choose one. And then we have to, decide what the objective is going to be. And only then can we choose the right intervention or the right forum. And then I wrote some examples of why this is necessary. There were different, in the beginning of CRC, we talked a lot about implicit bias training. We all took some of the implicit bias tests. We talked about what are the, answers for implicit bias, but that would be a very different training than if we were to look at another solution that group number 2 had come up with. And then another solution was pretty in line with what we had ended up with, which is create more opportunities for direct, meaningful, non-threatening contributions. And then in reviewing the minutes from last month, I noticed that Pasqualina had, again said that she really thinks our main objective should be, or one of our objectives as the CRC should be about teaching or about listening. The CRC should be listening to community members. So I think, I believe that what we should try to do is, come up with the best, forum for how we can listen to community members. So that's one objective, simply listening, but the subcommittee had come up with like one step further, which was about how to have constructive conversations around it. So I think we're going to have to decide, what the actual objective is, obviously, and then we can look at the different solutions for that for a forum. So.
Thank you, Emily.
Mm-hmm, you're welcome.
Comments? Discussion? Surely there are some opinions out there.
So Emily, that I appreciate that you, the way you structured that, going back to, just sometimes we really need to kind of go back and find our foundation and where we started from. I still think that the forum about having, learning how to have meaningful, empathetic conversations across differences is a really good objective. I think that's great. And I think in terms of the forum itself, I think that's a wonder, that's our first step, right? But I do think that as we started drilling down into some of the details, I think we weren't clear on them. So I think that was why I know that's why I didn't feel like we should move forward with it. And I think that this is something we want to take some time with. So I think it is good to just back up the truck a little bit and think about the actual, what and hows of this, like who is coming to this forum. I think a lot of the questions that were raised last time. So I think that we need the subcommittee to, go back, do some more work. And I think, Deb, did you have that project proposal?
Yeah, I do. I have it here.
So, yeah, I guess my big thing on this is if we're going to potentially double our budget and make it bigger than we had anticipated, and it's going to be our first, this is the CRC's first thing in the community, I think we really need to take our time with this, is mostly what I want people to know. And I'll be quiet now.
So yeah, I just to tag on that, I think we just have to be very, very specific about what our goals are, what we hope to achieve, who, the details of who are we targeting with this message, who do we want to participate, all the details, what we hope to achieve, what's the projected end result, all that. Just spell it all out. Myra, did you have something you wanted to say? Or Margaret?
Yeah, I was just thinking,
Sorry. Margaret, sorry.
well, two things. One, I was going to ask Emily if she was reporting for the subcommittee. What? You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I wanted to share like how we ended up with what we got, and then like what I've been thinking since. Like we do really need to get to the right objective, and but no, I did not meet with Myra or Jan because I knew that the whole committee was going to be needing to discuss this. So I just had gone back and looked at the Spirit report to see what had already been discussed, with that a lot of groups of people, and what their objectives that they had seen, and I would love to know if we would have passed the last suggestion, if we'd been able to pay for the co-facilitator of color, if that objective was of interest to people, and if it was more about the, I would have.
I personally thought that the subject matter was great. Fine. And the issue for me was about having co-facilitators and a person of color. So that was for me. We could even go even more basic and have a presentation about the CRC, where we've come to, this is just not even a community forum, but community information sharing. Mm-hmm. This is what we've been doing. This is where we've come to. This is what a community input forum is about. These are the kinds of forums we're going back to the assessment done several years ago, where it's, all the issues that you just showed. One of the things we're wanting to do is a forum on being able to have difficult conversations, or we want to have a conversation about economic development, how economy is really affecting Easthampton, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be even. It could just be us talking about showing our website, just introducing ourselves even to the community. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which I just popped into my head. It's not brilliant. It's nothing. It's just, it's just... Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Instead
Myra?
of finding a way to just say, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, this is what we want to do. I don't know.
Myra?
Again, I didn't we didn't meet as a subgroup, and then I just wanted to circle back to the thoughts that I had at the last meeting, which was not shutting down that idea of having conversations. I thought that was a starting point. As you mentioned, it wasn't the end-all be-all of events. And I think it's kind of timely because it's going to be happening perhaps in January when there may be some, not in January, but sometime in the future. And there may be people who are having very difficult conversation. So I thought it was a good start, still a good starting point. My only concern with that, like I mentioned, was having a singular person do it, not because I feel like it's a heavy lift for one person to facilitate. Okay, if we're having conversations, then I think it's a good time for people to practice having interactions. And so that would mean like having some breakout groups and facilitation of those breakout groups, potentially. And it may be best for an organization that has already done that and has done it online on a remote or on a virtual format already successfully, that has a track record of being able to do that technological lift. So those were my concerns. And then, of course, having different people represented as perhaps facilitators of the breakout rooms and being part of that dialogue and discussion. So those were just my thoughts about the as a starting point, it seems like a fine starting point, but we may, instead of looking at a singular person, but look like at an organization that has done it, or a group. And about the spirit report, yeah, I definitely think it is a good circle back to that, and knowing. I think I just put the binder away. At the time, what were the predominant concerns and solutions, and eventually getting to that. And it could also be a double of, this is also, we are the CRC, this is our mission, this is what we hope to do, like an introduction of ourselves, and then this event in one. Those are my only thoughts.
So what I think I'm hearing from Mary Lou.
I was just going to comment on what Myra said. If it's truly going to be a virtual forum, that opens up pretty much the entire country to get a group that has done the organization, that sort of a forum, that we're not limited to an in-person event where you might be limited to who you can bring in because of travel and that. But it might be there might be a company out in Los Angeles, for example, that would work for us, for the CRC and the program, because they've done the virtual, they've done that kind of thing. So I think, I don't know how you'd find them necessarily, but it does open up a wider possibility of people who and organizations who might help. That's all.
Okay. So what I think I'm hearing as kind of everyone seems to be in agreement that the original objective is for a focus for our forum is a good one, and something we seem to want to continue to pursue, and that focus on how to communicate effectively across differences, that everyone seems to be in agreement that that's a good place to start. So what I'm wondering is, if at this point, if we take that as our goal and vision for this first forum, if the subcommittee could meet and flesh out specifically what the goals of the program would be, specifically what the scope of the program is, how you envision this working, electronically, how all this works, and kind of what's going to be required to accomplish this, and could start to look into that, but build a framework of goals and objectives and strategies for putting together an effective event, and then come back to the committee and kind of report in and see where we stand, and then take it to the next level. Would you all be in agreement to do that? Yeah.
From myself and Emily.
Right. And Jan? Okay. Well, why don't we consider that the next step? Okay. That you guys could reach out to Jan, and I'm just thinking there's 10 of us now. We have to be careful about not having quorums, but I don't know if there's another person you want to add to the group to move this forward, or if you think that you'll be fine with the three of you. At any rate, but if you could start to flesh out, like in writing, so we have in writing, like what are the goals, stated goals, the objectives, what is the scope of this program? What do we hope to accomplish? Who will be participating? Who is our target audience? And what are the expected outcomes we want from this? And how do we go about making this happen? Like what's required? What do we need? Or next steps? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Deb.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you or I not really be part of the committee, but could be, give some support and maybe meet with the committee just to sort of just track that we're, on the right track. I think I'd want to be careful about the quorum. So maybe you and I could talk about that, because I would really like to support these. I think this is a really important step that we're taking by sponsoring this forum, and I would love to say that I could do that work, but I know what my workload is right now, and it would be pretty challenging. And then the other thing, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I had this idea that I had sent to the last subgroup, that there could be a form with like a project proposal template that we could use for things, not just this particular event, but other events, and it might be a good worksheet for the committee to start from, and certainly not, it's not the end all be all. It might be a good thing to, maybe a good practice to start, and then something we could use down the line for other work that we're trying to accomplish. So I don't know, Emily, if you still have that or if you felt it was useful at all, but.
I'm not I'm sure I can find it. I didn't.
It's just it's in a Google Doc. I can resend it to you.
Right. Yeah.
Patty, why don't you and I just review that document real quickly?
Okay.
Not here and now, but and then send it on to the committee.
Okay.
And just make a few edits to it and then send it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. All right. Does that sound like a game plan?
Yeah, I guess I want to ask, so, of all these problems that or issues that were identified in Easthampton, do we feel we need to identify which one that we would want to be promoting constructive conversations around? Like one problem was the us versus them, new guard versus old guard. I mean, this is a little bit too much in one issue, and unconscious bias. Another one was the unwelcoming environment for LGBT community and gender non-conforming individuals. Another one was racism, ethnocentrism, anti-immigration sentiment.
It strikes me that this is more like a skill building opportunity, so that the skills learned in terms of being an effective communicator and being an effective listener and all that goes into all of that could be applied to any of these issues. And that
it certainly can, but then when it comes down to like the target audience and who, I don't know.
Well, that's the big stuff that needs to be fleshed out. Like I have no idea, when you do something on Zoom, like how many people are you limited to? Like, and and which people would we be targeting? And and then to think about too, the cost in relation to the number of people we're able to effectively reach, and to weigh that carefully too, the cost per person, and how is this?
I would
Go ahead.
That these are really good questions for a professional facilitator on these subjects. Like, I think they have some of this expertise. And I think Emily, if you posed that question, I think they would have a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because this is what they do. They suss this stuff out.
And someone might use as like examples from situations from any one of those scenarios you've described.
Mm-hmm.
Or all of them, or some combination for examples for.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think one of the big questions that, you know, I think the subgroup can talk about is, you know, who are we with, you know, I do feel like one of the big questions is who are we,
Mm-hmm.
who is this for? And I think that was one of the big questions I had. Then I felt like some of what I heard last meeting was, you know, it would be great to have, you know, some of our city leadership there. So maybe city council members and maybe people who work for the city and maybe that, you know, so my thought is, and then or is it business, you know, does it include business leaders of social groups, leaders of, you know, I don't know. I'm really, you know, I don't. So I think those are the things we need you guys to identify and have conversation about, and then you can certainly bring those conversations to the bigger group. But those are big questions. Yeah, and that's why Myra, that's why I said this isn't going to happen for January. I think there's a lot of big questions ahead of us. Yeah.
Oh, shucks. The magic fairy dust won't work. No, I'm certain that Emily and I and Jan can have this conversation and talk about those very questions, and will also depend on the skill set of the organization / their facilitators in terms of what they can bring. And we can certainly give them the document of the Spirit Report, setting that as our historical context for the group and being able to see where Easthampton was in terms of climate and interaction, because I think we're really talking about building positive interactions amongst all those cross sections that were listed in the Spirit Report. Mm-hmm. So I think our target audience is all of those people, all those cross sections that were listed in the Spirit Report, and having them, because we're a city-based committee, so we're looking at all those cross sections. But we'll be meeting again, Molly and John and Spirits. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So it sounds like we have a plan. We have a game plan. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item of our agenda, CRC Outreach, the website, Facebook, letterhead. I just wanted to let you know I did receive letterhead from the graphic designer and I neglected to get it out to you. I apologize, but I will send that out. A letterhead design for us, which looks great. And the website, everything is up the way we requested it, except I did ask for a link to the Spirit Report and that's not there. So I'm going to pursue that. And I'll also pursue getting the file of all of our documents listed there, so that those reports, Emily, that you got back a couple of years ago, we'll just get everything in one place. We'll put that internal investigative report there. We'll put any supporting documents that we have along the way. We'll house them there for reference. So I'll get that request in. So that leaves us to the topic of Facebook. Alyssa.
So it's live. I made it live today. So if any of you are on Facebook, you can search CRC Easthampton, Mass, and it'll pop up. I did it's really like I put out like today's, agenda items or like Zoom information. Not that I had any followers whatsoever, but but I did email Zoe at the mayor's office to see if maybe she can, have the city of Easthampton share the page, just so we can be out there a little bit more. So I'll keep you posted on if any new fun things happen.
So what is it called again, Alyssa? What's our page called?
I'm having trouble. So if you actually use the URL, it's like www.facebook.com/CRC Easthampton Mass, all one, and MA, sorry. So CRC all Easthampton MA, all one word.
Oh, okay.
If you actually are in Facebook searching it, you might just be able to type in, it's hard because I'm community. If you type in Community Relations Committee dash Easthampton Mass, it should come up. Hopefully, if I did it right.
Okay, I'm just doing that now. Community Relations Committee. Then what did you say? Community Relations Committee what? Dash?
Dash Easthampton Mass, MA. Is it not coming up? That would stink.
Dash Easthampton?
Yeah, I think if you are on Facebook, you should just be able to type in Community Relations Committee and it should pop up.
I haven't. I've typed in oh, I found it.
So few.
Yep.
Oh, Community Relations Committee, Easthampton. I know it from our logo.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. Check out that logo. All right.
Nice.
Nice. Very nice.
We need a picture.
Can you take a picture of us all on Zoom and put it there?
Yeah, Emily.
Who can screenshot this and put it on there? I'll pick my nose right at that time. Right?
Okay, smile. I love that laugh.
Okay, did you really take a picture? Did you really do it?
I really took a screenshot, but I could, but you know what? I have to do it again because Margaret was looking down.
All right, so everybody pose.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, screenshot. And I can send that to the group and you can see what you think. How about that?
All right.
If anybody super objects, I won't post, but I think it's fun to have some faces.
People, yeah.
And we have, and do we have the permission of the public speak people to have their name spelled out?
I can crop out the non-committee members that
Yeah.
Okay.
And paste in Jan and get his picture and paste it in.
Well, yeah, we don't have Jan.
Well, we'll put a separate one of him.
So, my plan for now is just to continue when we have meetings to make sure, that's just another way for people to get the Zoom links and agenda items. And then once, I could, if you guys want me to do a running list of what our projects are, I can post out there that we're, working on, this extra forum subcommittee, I could post that out there, but I don't know if we want to come up with 3 or 4 items or that we're working on.
Make it interesting. We got to make it interesting, right? But yeah, and we should all like the page, right? Like it, follow it.
Yes, please share it with your friends.
Yep.
Okay. I'm looking at did you check with, is it a government page? Did you check with that police officer about?
Unfortunately, I was never able to connect with him. I had worked with Zoe in the mayor's office a little bit. She had answered a handful of questions for me. So I'm hoping that she just, she said something about being able to get me a check mark. Whatever that means. I think since it is a city page, technically, we would have to get verified almost, but I think she can do that.
Okay.
So can anybody comment?
Yes. And what can happen is if, we obviously don't want derogatory language, so what I can actually do is set up, a couple of little things to say, I don't want any swear words. So if someone actually did a comment with bad language in it, it wouldn't even pop up. So there's some filters that can be added, but someone could comment, someone could ask a question, someone could message.
Okay. And I was thinking that we weren't going to allow people to comment. Like we weren't going to be in the position of wanting to monitor that.
Yeah, I don't think it's talking to Pat Broff, he made it sound like we cannot just turn off commenting.
You know what? I think we should check with that, whoever that police, I can go back and look up his name.
I can email. I emailed him, but I never heard back. So I can.
Oh, you did?
Forward my email again.
Yeah. Can you follow up just to make sure, just because I don't want us to be, that becomes like a full-time job if you have to be aware of comments and responding to them. And I guess I was feeling comfortable with the idea of us putting information out there, but to monitor that could be huge. Not that we're going to be immediately have tremendous exposure and followers, but it's something to really seriously consider. I think it might be better if we didn't start off that way.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a way around it. So it's either we have Facebook and, people can comment and we can add these filters. My biggest thing is, people starting a war or something on Facebook with their language. That's what I'm trying to prevent.
Well, I think depending on
how asks a question, it doesn't mean, when's the next committee meeting? It doesn't have to be answered right then and there.
Right.
Not something I have to monitor 24/7.
I think there is a way to set it up. Like, I just remember being involved when the school department was first setting up Facebook. And I was involved in that way back when. This was a long time ago, long time ago. But at least back then, there was definitely a way you could set it up with different parameters.
Yeah.
So it might be good to start out a little slower with regard to
we won't have many posts, I don't think, even so that someone could comment in general right now, unless someone's going to comment on all our pictures, which are 2. So
okay. All right. Anything else?
I don't think I have any, unless anybody has any questions.
Not really. Just happy that it's out there.
I guess I just feel like it seems weird for us to shut down all comments on the Facebook page, just because that is one of the ways that we would engage the community. And if there's an expectation, like if you have like page rules or something, like, if you have questions, like do not expect immediate responses. Like, I think maybe it might be better for us to start off with like being a little bit more liberal with people's ability to comment and engage with us. And then, if it becomes too much work, or if like we are just getting a ton of like rude comments on the page, then maybe we like tailor it back, because it just seems easier to, tailor back rather than like start really strict and then maybe opening it up, because people already will have this perception. It's like, oh, the Facebook page isn't really a way to engage the CRC. It's just, where we find information about the next meeting. So I'm just thinking, if you want the Facebook page to be something as a way to see that we are engaging in the community, it seems that it would be beneficial if we would allow people to comment and engage with us and with each other on that page.
It's just, that's fine. And I get what you're saying. It's just the ability to manage it, the ability to be responsive. Because one thing I don't want to happen is for us to be not responsive.
Yeah. Well, one thing is if someone does message us, there's an automatic response that goes out right away that says, thank you so much. If you need, this is not regularly monitored. If you need immediate assistance, please email us. So that is like one thing that, I don't have to check that every 10 seconds if I don't have to. It's an immediate response. Someone does reach out to us. So that's one little thing we can do.
Yeah. Alyssa or Gabby, have either of you been a moderator for a Facebook page? Because I really don't want this to turn into like arguments too.
Yeah. And I've never monitored, but I did talk to Pat a lot. Like, that's 100% my biggest concern. And I did talk to him probably for 45 minutes about that one topic of just monitoring that and setting up parameters. So, you know, I felt a lot better after our conversation about even managing it just myself. But I know I do also have Rebecca and Gabby to also help manage that as moderators as well. So,
Okay.
And I've helped monitor pages before.
Yeah,
Who
I
said
have
that?
two.
Gabby?
Gabby said it. Gabby.
Okay. And Rebecca, you have two?
I have two.
Great.
And Alyssa, I changed my settings so that you should be able to send me a friend request. I still can't friend you, apparently.
okay. So I have a very private Facebook, so it's probably why, but I will.
Okay.
I'll see. I'll try that now and see if that works.
Okay.
So where are we at?
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys, you know, Patty and Deb, if there's some comfort level that you guys don't have right now, like, I absolutely can pull everything back and can, you know, kind of take a pause. You know, I think after all of my reading up and knowledge, I feel a lot more comfortable than I did at the beginning of this project. I'm concerned about, you know, if we do get, you know, 250 likes tonight and everyone comments on that, what that could entail. But I don't think we're going to know until we try. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm ready to hit the ground running and go with it. So,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I'm of the mind that if you did the work and you feel really, you guys feel comfortable with it, I'm entrusting you, and you'll let us know if something, if we need to make adjustments.
Yeah. And I have no problem asking, you know, if there's, you know, a question I have, or if I feel like it's overwhelming and we need to, you know, take a pause for a minute, I'll let you guys know immediately.
Also, and if you would just check in with that police officer at some point, just to make sure that whatever knowledge it was that he had with regard to being a government site, just to make sure we're incorporating that. Okay.
Yep, great. I'm going to re-follow up with my email now.
Perfect. Thank you for all the work you've done. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your willingness to administer this and go for it. Yay. Okay. Future agenda topics. So we still have to get to at some point. We still have Abby had suggested a code of conduct for our committee, much the way the city council has one, and Myra had suggested a survey, and just want to acknowledge that that's still out there. And we just don't want to make these meetings too outrageously long. So we'll take these things on as we can moving forward. Let's talk about our next meeting date right now. The first Tuesday of December is the 1st, I believe, which is in 2 weeks. We had said that we would make our regular meeting date the first Tuesday of the month. Is that too soon? Do you want to meet then? Is that too soon with the work, the assignments everyone has? Do you want to push it off to January, the first Tuesday in January, or do you want to stick with the first Tuesday in December? Thoughts, comments, suggestions?
I mean, I'm fine with the first Tuesday in December, but I think we should maybe leave that decision up to the forum subcommittee because it's like they have the biggest lift before the next meeting.
Yeah, that's exactly my opinion. I don't know how much you'll actually be able to get done in 2 weeks.
And don't forget there's Thanksgiving in the middle of that as well.
Right.
For whatever that's worth.
Right.
I'm not going anywhere. What do you think, Myra?
On December 1st, I'll be having a dental appointment. Literally. I don't know. I feel like as long as we have some steps of what everyone is going to be doing in the meantime, maybe we can push it back a little bit. If you think prioritizing the subgroup
The forum committee.
The forum, yeah, there we go. If that's something you want to focus on, or if we want to loop back to the things that can move along faster, I'm not sure, because either way we'll still be, I think, discussing. We just won't have a report out.
Right. Right.
Well, given all that there needs to be done and the fact that we do have Thanksgiving in there, maybe we should just, in this forum subcommittee is going to be busy working on all this. Maybe we should just go for that Tuesday in January.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask this. We might not know whether the mayor can meet with us on the 1st with that letter. I mean, that could be something, if she is able to do that, that it could be worth at least having that part of it heard. But of course, we don't know her availability for the 1st.
Well, we could do that. We could just, realize that maybe it's not going to be a marathon session like we normally have, and just touch base. We can touch base on a bunch of things on the 1st, see where we're at with everything. Margaret?
Patty, I was going to ask Patty, do you think that you might be able to get that information from Brian Corr, et cetera?
I will do the outreach ASAP. I can't guarantee when they're going to get back to me.
No, I didn't know if you could do your end.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try, but it's going to depend on their ability to get back to me as well. So,
okay.
Because I was thinking the same thing, but I don't know yeah.
So, forum subcommittee, I know this is kind of tough putting you on the spot and you haven't even been able to think about this or look at your calendars, but do you think you would be able to be making some progress between now and December 1st?
December 1st? I'm sure I'll be able to email Myra and Jan a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we can set up a to-do list for ourselves and then see how far we get and what's happened and what's outstanding. Mm-hmm. It may not be a lot, but we'll have some. We can coordinate.
Okay, good. All right, let's go for it then.
Okay,
Patty?
I was just going to say, do we want to? Do we just want to say we'll do December 1st if the mayor can make it, and if she can't, should we just let everybody go do their work?
Yeah, we're fine.
We can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do that. All right. I can reach out and ask her.
For the last minute.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's what we'll do. I'll ask her ASAP, see what she has to say. Mm-hmm. And if she's good, we'll plan on it for the 1st.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so when I'm writing that up, I can say the next meeting date is December 1st if the mayor's report is ready, and otherwise the January, January 5th.
Yes. You could say if she's available, because I think the report's been ready for a while, but it's just whether she's available.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Sound good? All right. We'll keep you all posted, but put it on your calendar. We'll hope for the 1st. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, if I can find my list. Roll call. Rebecca Passa.
Yes.
Patty Dougherty.
Yes.
Emily Britton.
Yes.
Margaret Kirstein. Margaret, did you say yes? Margaret's muted. Okay.
Yes.
Mary Lou Flame.
Yes.
Melissa O'Leary.
Yes.
Myra Oyedemi.
Yes.
Gabby Stevenson.
Yes.
And I'm yes, Deborah Lusnia. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Have a good holiday.
Couple of weeks.